So, I was on Conan O'Brien Needs a Fan, and this is how it happened. And if you can't tell, I don't usually make these types of like vlogging videos, talking to camera or, holding a microphone or stuff like that. But I just need to make like this video as much for anybody else as for myself, because I still have so much energy coming off of that interview. So just like anybody else who shows up for the program, I just signed up for the mailing. I sent them a response on the form they have on their website if you want to participate, and I honestly completely forgot about it. And then a couple of months later, I get a response to them being interested, being like, "Hey, want to have a small like pre-interview with you? Check it out if you're able to talk coherently for like 20 minutes," which I was down to do. So we ended up having a small pre-interview, which was really smooth. The people there are super professional, super nice. I was, at least to myself, I was surprisingly calm during that pre-interview. I remembered a lot of good anecdotes, talked a lot, which, it's good when being interviewed, but I feel like maybe a bit too much. Anyways, so after a couple of weeks or days, I don't remember, I do get an invite to actually be on the podcast. And I just went, oh shit. I was really hyped, of course. And at that point, I was like, I can do it. Like, I did a pre-interview that was really calm and chill. I do live shows a lot. I'm also calm and chill in those scenarios. I didn't really, think about, the sheer magnitude of the interview itself for forever. And it also got delayed a couple of times. So I had quite some time to think about it, which I tried not to do. And I didn't tell anybody either, because I think that would just, make me even more nervous. So anyways, the day rolls around. I remember, which is today, the day rolls around. I wake up from a dinner nap because I was really goddamn tired. And I realize, oh shit, I'm gonna be on in 1.5 hours. I literally was low-key shaking. Like my hands were actually rotating, or whatever you want to call it. But I also felt kind of tired. So to compensate that, I brewed myself an espresso. I popped a Monster just to get my energy level up. But I don't usually drink that much caffeine. But the problem, as you can maybe tell, was that I actually overdosed on caffeine a little bit. So instead of getting less nervous or shaky, I got even more tensed up. But anyways, the time rolls around. I'm invited to a Zoom meeting to just check out the microphone audio, which we checked out in a previous technical check. We do all that riz-ras. I leave for 10 minutes, come back. They tell me to specifically okay, we're gonna add you to the room. We're gonna add you to the room, and when you get in there, just don't interrupt them. Don't speak instantly. Wait until they say your name. And I was like, okay, I got it. I will not just bleh, because a lot of apparently people join and just hey, Conan, they get hyped, understandably. So I was really okay, still pretty nervous. I'll join the room and just sit there and vibe for a bit, just to settle in. And the millisecond I joined, I just hear my own name, as a question, oh, Jarle, and I'm like, so I was told to wait. I was supposed to wait, or should I start speaking? So then the interview was already we were underway, and just the entire time I was thinking how much I actually adore these people, whilst being extremely fucking nervous, which I tried not to it's important to speak about being nervous, but I feel if I were to start speaking about that the whole interview would just be about how much I actually, adore Conan stuff, how much I watched of him. Multiple times I thought of bringing up anecdotes oh yeah, from the show, this episode, da-da-da. But at least from my experience watching the podcast, Conan gets a lot of, he prefers to, people joke about him, at least close people, rather than complimenting him endlessly, which I wanted to do, but I tried to, refrain from that, just to keep the ball rolling and keep the ball in his court, if you know what I mean. So we do the interview. I try a bunch of jokes. After watching the podcast that much, I'm my instinct was to just joke about Conan, like give him some small nudges. Which, like, in retrospect, after the interview, I was like, I did that too much. Like, if I could, like, it's weird going on an interview with Conan O'Brien, like him talking to you, and you know, for the setting of the show, it makes sense to like invite people on and just be like, oh, what's your deal? What's your deal? Because we all know Conan. But still, yeah, can you imagine how it's like being a random ass like dude from Norway who is not like a crime investigator. I'm just a developer, who incidentally also makes music. And the questions being directed towards me and not him. It was quite weird, but I tried to like roll with it and drop like anecdotes when asked for. But yeah, anyways, the interview gets done. I render out my recorded audio file, send it over, and just like, it's done, it's over. And my first reaction was like, not during a single point, which I discussed like earlier. Like I didn't want to like be like, ooh, I love you guys, da 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 da, even though I am a fan. But I realized not during a single point in there did I actually like stop up and be like, no, you guys are funny, you guys are great. I just made like fun of them, which, you know, is okay amongst them, of course, because they know each other and yada yada. But I felt so, I think that's my main takeaway. I just felt so obnoxious afterwards. And I was like a bit nervous, honestly. I was almost equally, if not more nervous after being done, because I was kind of in like a performative mood during the actual podcast. And then afterwards I was like, I could have been more like, well, I was genuine, but I could have been more like, okay, we need to get this out of the way. You guys are awesome. I love this and this. Also, your Jake Gyllenhaal impression is kind of sounds like the way you say my name, which is funny because he's Swedish and I'm Norwegian. But like my brain was just totally like, okay, don't refer to like when Conan was like at BlizzCon and like did this joke and stuff, because I think that would be too on point. In retrospect, should I have done it? Maybe. Who knows? But I just wanted to be like a random nobody instead of like a huge fan. And so I'm recording this again like an hour, a bit over after actually being done with the interview. I have no idea how it turned out. I have the audio file and it sounds so weird. I hope they edit that out in the final cut. It's just like, I laugh a lot, but like I was smiling through that entire fucking thing, and you can hear my like smiling in between sounds. So I'm just like, yeah, right. You could like, I make these just like Darth Vader breathing noises in between sentences. But the conclusion is, I feel so incredibly honored to actually get the opportunity to speak with those guys. They were just as much fun as you would expect them to be. Conan dropped a freestyle in Norwegian. What more can you ask for in a goddamn Conan O'Brien Needs a Fan podcast episode? You can ask for me to perhaps behave better. Okay. You might be right. And also, I didn't tell anybody before because I think that would just, as mentioned, like heighten it. And I don't have a plan on telling anybody afterwards. Just because of the sheer amount of like meme value of somebody I know or somebody who knows, a friend of a friend or whatever, like listening to the podcast and me like, is that the guy? Is that the guy? Just the value of that is worth more to me than like people knowing that I've been on it. And also I have already been on the podcast with Conan O'Brien. What more can I possibly ask for, right? Out of like sheer awesome stuff. So yeah, that's it. If you want to if you have any questions regarding being on it, or any questions about Edda or the stuff I talked about, which I think we talked a lot about beer for some reason. We talked a bunch about alcohol and Chewbacca. Oh, Chewbacca? Whatever. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below, or in the doobly-doo, or whatever they call it. I'm not looking at it. It's like the first frame of The Last of Us episode 2. It's literally just like a blurred out hoodie. I don't know. Anyways, take care, and it's hip to be square.